Welcome back. This is the big one now. President Akufo Addo says a fair knowledge of the current state of the nation will enhance a speedy restructuring of the economy. The president gave the assurance when he received a 24-sector interim report presented by the transition team.
The receipt of the interim report marked the first assignment of President Akufo Addo as he assumed official duty at the presidency. The 24-sector interim report, according to leader of the team, Osafo Mafo, has been itemized to allow the incoming administration use in its first 100 days.
And the transition team has a life of 6 weeks, and our final work will have to be on the 3rd of February. The decision was that we present an interim report to you today and arrange to present a final report around the 10th of February. In between, of course, the ministers will be in place, and as we work, the automatic relationship between the transition team members and the ministers in terms of cooperation and providing information to the incoming ministers of yours. We want it to be very smooth and very cordial. We are still on the work of the transition team because there are few matters which are yet to be sorted out.
President Akufo Addo assured a careful study will be made on the document in order to guide its administration.
But first of all, let me thank you for the work you're doing for our country. That I know that a great deal of energy and time has been spent, because there are several faces here who have been talking to me about the work that you have been doing. So even though this is an interim stage and an interim report, nevertheless, I think it's appropriate for me to thank you for the work that you have been doing. It is not work just for me, it is work for the people of Ghana, and you ought to be commended, especially with the promptness in which you've come here on the very first day of this new administration to come and apprise us of where we are. I think that it's a good initiative. It shows the seriousness of the work that you have been doing. I think it's very appropriate because this is my first day here, and I think the sooner I get briefed on the important matters that confront the government, the better. So I think that your visit here is very appropriate. We'll have a look at this. Fortunately, also the Vice President is here with me.
Let's quickly get to Skype, where Dr. Edward Brenya, a lecturer at the Department of Political History and Political Studies at KNUST, is joining us. Dr. Brenya, good evening, and thank you for your time.
Good evening.
Now, the transition team today presented the interim report to the President, Nana Akufo Addo. It was obvious the NDC members of the team were not present at the time of presenting the interim report to the President. Is this a cause for worry?
Good evening once again. And first of all, let's commend the transition team on how fast they've been able to organize something and giving a highlight of their report, which will be presented in full according to the chair by February, and giving a highlight to the president so that at least the president can use it to work. So I think they need to be commended on that. Getting back to your question, if we look at the unification process that we've seen so far, which was actually shown during the investiture, it would have been nice if both the NDC and the MPP members were there to present, at least to show to Ghanaians and the world how unified these two teams have been working. However, we don't know if there was an agreement between the NDC and the MPP for the MPP members to present it on their behalf. But as I said, in the spirit of unity, it would have been better if all the team that are working together actually presented this to the president. But we have to commend them for the haste in presenting this interim report.
Right, but would you say that their presence would have made any difference at all?
Absolutely, yes. Their presence would have shown to the world that indeed we are having this unity between the outgoing administration and the current administration, so that it goes a long way to help in the healing process that we're going through. So yes, the president would have made a difference.
Right, Dr. Brenya, let's move away from that a little and go back to the inaugural address. In the president's inaugural address, he did mention that it is time to make sure that there is true separation of powers between the various arms of government. Do you think this can truly be achieved?
I think that observation that was made by the president is very important. I believe the president has been in parliament. He knows what's actually transpired. If you look at the Ghanaian system, this fusion of power does indeed sort of make parliament look more like inferior to the executive. And I think that if indeed that separation is achieved, it would really help to give Parliament the independence that they need and to be able to allow them to critically assess laws that are passed. Having said that, in order for this to be achieved, it means that a lot of, the Constitution as it stands now needs to be amended. The Constitution requiring that majority of the executive, the ministers, are taken from Parliament. The Constitution that requires that bills have to be introduced by cabinet ministers, not by members themselves. All these things needs to be amended so as to give them the needed autonomy that would actually help this true separation of powers to be achieved. Whether or not the members of parliament who themselves sort of enjoy the fact that there's this fusion that allows them to be able to become ministers, which are part of the executive, whether or not they're going to support the president in that bid become a big question. So for now, we can only look up to the president and his intention and see if indeed this can be a reality.
I know that for Parliament to be able to exercise true separation of powers might also depend on the parties. For example, the NPP already has a majority of 169 MPs, comfortable majority. In the past, MPs have been seen to act like a rubber stamp on anything coming from the executive. So how do you think this 7th Parliament should be conducting business in order to make it obvious that they are not like a junior partner of the executive, as the president puts it?
I think it's going to be very difficult. This is a government that has come into power. A government that really wants to prove to Ghanaians that they are ready to implement the policies that Nana expressed during the campaign. If we are talking about true separation, then we are looking at the possibility of even the majority to be able to critically, assess bills that are brought forward, which we've not seen in the past. Even that we are talking about true separation, as I said, then we have to have the amendment that allow members, the whip system to sort of decrease and allow members to be able to act and criticize based on their conviction. Unfortunately, because of the strong whip system and because of the partisan nature of Parliament, and because this party has come in with the hope and enthusiasm to prove to Ghanaians that they are going to do things different, I believe it is going to be very difficult for the MPP at that moment to try to sort of be critical, more critical on bills that are brought in by the executive.
Right, Dr. Edward Brenya, we're grateful for your time. Thanks very much for joining us. Dr. Edward Brenya is a senior political science lecturer at the Department of History and Politics at the University of Ghana.